woman with gold-rimmed glasses and long gray ponytails on either side of her head began speaking to us as if we were friends, not strangers. Was the change she received correct? Why did it take 7 minutes to bake a pizza? She told us she was losing her sight, but she had till March 1st, her next doctor's appointment, to read her Bible and pray her way to a miracle. Sadie talked. We listened. When it came time to go, Sadie asked, could she pray? And before we answered, she shoved all 3 of our heads together and spoke these words. Dear God, watch over these sweet girls, for you know the end times are near. May these girls not take up the mark of Satan. May they be raptured up. Help them to say no to Satan. Now I want to point out 3 things. 1, I was not wearing my God collar when this happened. 2, I have not been called a girl in 20 years. Thanks be to Sadie. And 3, how great is it to live in a state where someone can pray, resist the devil's mark, just say no to Satan at the local Target Pizza Cafe. Today's gospel from Luke is all about Jesus just saying no to Satan, not at the end times, but at the beginning, at the start of his earthly ministry. 16 verses ago, the Holy Spirit descended upon him. Jesus was called out by God as chosen, and then Jesus, infused with the Holy Spirit, we're told is led by the Spirit into the wilderness. For many people, the word wilderness conjures up images of dense forests, but the biblical wilderness was a desert. Hot during the day, cold at night. A lonely, forbidden place that threatened visitors with death by dehydration, starvation, or snakebite. I had the pleasure of being led into this wilderness, camping out in the desert on the edge of Mount Sinai during grad school, watching a friend lift up his pillow and find a scorpion. Seeing our tour guide at the time examine the arachnid and say, I'm glad you found that before bed. If it had struck you, you'd be dead by the time we got you back to civilization. Wilderness, for many people, is not where we want to go. It's not a happy place. Still, I know there are a few of you out there who enjoy scenarios like this. Matt Surge, you are my hero. You who tell tales of striking out into the wild, deserted places, wandering the earth where no cell phone bars care to be found, where the only food and water around is whatever you carry, where the only people around are the people you choose to bring with you, where your only guide is your compass and the direction of the sun. For those of us who prefer camping at the Holiday Inn, this prospect of wandering into unknown territory is frightening. We think of the Israelites traipsing around in circles for 40 years, of Tim Allen on my favorite episode of Home Improvement, lost in a snowstorm, driving into the same gas station over and over again, refusing in space, relational time, no schedule, silence. An opportunity not just to be tested, but to be strengthened. Hear the words of Belden Lane from his book on desert spirituality. The wilderness is a place of suffering out on the edge. It is a place of letting go. A place for dying, and yet also a place for coming alive. The desert is where things fall apart and where things may come together in unexpected ways. The wilderness, in short, is a place of threat, vulnerability, and danger, yet it is also the place where, incredibly, we encounter a love we could never have imagined. We must remember that Jesus was only following in the footsteps of his ancestors. Like Moses, Elijah, and others before him, Jesus went to the desert to be with God first, before stepping out into the public eye second. And anyone who reads the Old Testament knows it takes at least 40 days before you can actually hear what God has to say. Jesus then went into the wilderness deliberately, but unlike his predecessors, Jesus didn't spend 40 glorious days on spiritual retreat and prayer, but 40 days with the devil being tempted. No, tempt is the word. Not attack, not assault or abuse, but tempt. Interestingly enough, Satan offers Jesus gifts. Same number of gifts Jesus got when he was born. These gifts are different, but they're still 3 very nice gifts. Jesus hasn't eaten in 40 days, so Satan offers him bread. Jesus' response? No, thank you. Man cannot live by bread alone. Satan says to Jesus, forget God, worship me, and you can have power over all the world. Jesus' response, no thank you. Worship the Lord and serve him only. Satan offers Christ fame, says, show me what you're made of. Prove you're God's son like the scriptures claim. Pull this one little stunt just for me. Again, Jesus says, no thank you. Do not put the Lord your God to the test. Theologian Henry Nouwen reframes this temptation story, saying, we Christians all want what the devil offers. Each of us houses a desire to be relevant, the desire to be popular, the desire for power. Such things make us full of ourselves and empty of God. So then Nouwen asks, can we, like Jesus, lay them down? C.S. Lewis wrote, there is no neutral ground. Every square inch, every split second is claimed by God and counterclaimed by Satan. And whether you believe in Satan as fallen angel, a snake that offers a tasty apple, or a horned creature with a pitchfork in hand, it doesn't matter. You've all met Satan one time or another. You've all battled evil, experienced the dark night of the soul, moved maybe even from temptation to addiction, used whatever, work, alcohol, an unhealthy relationship, whatever it is, to hide, to bury your pain. So the question for Lent becomes, what in our lives needs to be laid down? A blog I read this week explains how Lent's spirituality of subtraction can invite God in and kick the devil out. It says, give up chocolate. But give up chocolate that is made on the backs of the working poor. Give up chocolate that enslaves children and puts them in dangerous work conditions. Give up Hershey and take on fair trade chocolate. Give up Facebook and take up a pen and a piece of paper and a stamp and write a note to a teacher, a friend, a loved one, someone sick, or someone lonely. Give up TV. Take up conversations. Take up stronger relationships. Take up the Bible. Take up prayer. Give up oppression, resentment, fear. And take up justice, reconciliation, love. True, at week's end, an evangelical prayed against me being marked by the devil, but thankfully, at the week's beginning, parish children prayed over me that I would be Christ's own forever. On Tuesday night, I watched my son Zachary and Ivy Baczynski wandered around our St. Michael's Chapel, dipping their fingers in ashes, marking the foreheads of older children, the adults. And Nathan, you yourself spoke the holy words. Mark Bartram, you belong to God. Michelle, you belong to God. Mr. Ferrin, you belong to God. They embrace the dust. Dust that evokes the sand of desert living, that risky, wild, and woolly wilderness time called Lent. Time to say yes to all that is good, all that is holy, all that is life-giving, all that is true, and to say no, lay down all that is evil, all that is harmful, all that consumes and eats the soul. What will you do? What will you say? How will you mark yourself today as God's own?